1.
Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon Reviews. Up this week, first we got a game called TrickStyle, and coming up afterwards, I'll announce that at the end. It's not a big surprise, it's just, it's another game called Formulate. I think it's how that's pronounced.
I think it's just Forma 8. I'm not sure, though.
I don't know. It could be Forma 8. It could be Formulate. We'll discuss that more in that review, but we know how TrickStyle is pronounced, thankfully. Anyway, yes. All right. So, TrickStyle. Going to be a bit of a history lesson here because this is I hesitate to use the word remastering or any. I don't think that any actual work of that nature has been done on the game. Like it's just a updated re-release of the classic game kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
No, not entirely.
And this was PlayStation,
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. Yeah. TrickStyle was a 1999 game released for the Dreamcast. It was a Dreamcast launch title. I think it fared about average. Like, there were actually a lot of Dreamcast games at launch. I think it was in fact the largest launch lineup to that point in time. And so you had games that fell under the surface, like, say, anyone else remember Pen Tri-Isolon? No. I didn't think so. Like, yeah. I think TrickStyle got some notoriety, but it also wasn't like Soul Calibur. It wasn't one of the games that everybody was talking about either.
That demanded being ported to everything else eventually, or getting sequels on everything else.
Yeah, in fact, TrickStyle only saw release on one other platform, the PC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm presuming, and it came out about the same time as the Dreamcast version, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, presumably because it has a PC version, this is why it was chosen as the, depending on how you're counting, the first or second re-release from Throwback Entertainment. The first one being Gladiator Sword of Vengeance, which we've previously reviewed. Like, the thing of it is, TrickStyle actually came out first on the GOG platform. Like, in fact, I think that particular release came up in our first interview with them back last year. It's just when it comes to Steam releases, this one came second. I don't exactly know why that's the case. I don't think we asked in our more recent interview, but anyway, the point being, it's one of their first re-releases, and it's one of the ones that they had a PC version to work off. Yeah, here's a hint. If they have a PC version to work off of, it's much easier to get the game onto modern platforms than if there isn't. And they're not the only company beset by this.
Yeah. Though I will say props for letting us have the option to keep the 3DFX logo in there. Nice touch.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know what 3DFX is, I don't know, go watch a YouTube video on it.
Yeah, I think we've talked about 3DFX on the show, haven't we?
I don't think we have, actually.
I might throw that in the topic bin, then.
I think I'll do that this week because we got nothing else happening.
All right, so another fun history lesson from me then.
Yeah, but I can also I can certainly talk about 3DFX. Now, I mean, the reason why the 3DFX logo is there is because they were very, they were the manufacturer of 3D boards back then.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not uncommon to see their logo in games of the time, a little before, a little after.
Similar of how a lot of games have NVIDIA logos.
Right. Although in fact I think was it NVIDIA that bought 3DFX?
Yes, they bought the remnants.
Yes. Anyway, at any rate, so the actual game TrickStyle is kind of odd, for a couple of reasons. Because not so much in what it is in a general sense, because it's a game based off of extreme sports, and once again, going back to that era, extreme sports games were all the rage, especially around the time of say 1999 to 2002, 2000, so up to the early mid 2000s, I'd say, because of a game called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. You've probably played one of those.
Yeah, I was about to say, stop us if you've heard of that game.
It's like, I'm trying to remember when Tony Hawk's Pro Skater actually came out.
98?
That's what I was about to say.
I'm like, possibly? But I think it might have been 1999, actually. Like, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 came out in 2000. So, like, yeah, I think the first one came out the first one came out in 1999. And I think that's actually reflected in the design of TrickStyle. More on that in a bit. The other odd bit about TrickStyle is it's a simulation of something that doesn't actually exist. Reason being,
yeah, it's kind of a sci-fi hoverboard dealie it plays like you're trying to do skateboard stuff mostly, or snowboard stuff, but it's technically a hoverboard, and it does some things that you can't really do.
Yeah,
an actual skateboard or.
Yeah, it's a hoverboard simulation, and yeah, in spite of what we're calling hoverboards these days, actual hoverboards do not exist. And they certainly didn't exist in 1999 either. And kind of the hook for this one is, because it's a hoverboard, you can do things, a skateboard or a snowboard couldn't do. Like, there are tracks where it goes 0G, and it's more like F-Zero than anything more earthbound.
Though you can also, for some reason, lie down on the board and temporarily drill through glass things or something. So.
Yeah, it's got some luge in there for reasons that escape me as well. And luge is also used to grind. This game's version of grinding. I could not get that to work, which is why I didn't actually play a whole bunch of this. The other one will elaborate that more. But in terms of design, you can tell this is more a contemporary of Tony Hawk than a successor, an incident, because it's not a trick game, in spite of the name.
Like, you can do tricks if you want, but there's not a whole lot of a point.
Yeah, it's
a stunt racing game.
Emphasis on the racing, because I'm like, that's what the actual. That's what the actual point of the game is. You race in races, and you unlock more races.
You do get points for doing tricks, but I don't know if they actually give you anything.
They serve no purpose, really.
Yeah, it's like, if you want the closest actual contemporary to what TrickStyle is, look to the game 1080 Degrees Snowboarding. which was released by Nintendo in 1998. I'm like, and it had similar setup. Like it was a snowboarding game where it had tricks, but and a obligatory half pipe section. But the main point was racing. Although in that game, points served an actual purpose, from what I'm remembering, and indeed points served an actual purpose in the Tony Hawk games because you used points to unlock shit. There's none of that in TrickStyle. Now, in fact, doing tricks is kind of pointless.
One thing is that when you have a jump, if you do a spin, you can like basically double jump.
Yeah,
And I imagine there are some tracks where rail grinding kind of lets you get through
They
certain
can allow
paths
you
that
to
you
get.
can't go otherwise. But
Yeah, you can. They allow you to get to certain paths, but yeah. Besides that, speed lunge is probably the only useful thing, since it allows you to speed up. So
right. So, well, let me get to the main albatross around this particular re-release. Um, we had a hell of a time with controller support. Like,
I don't know what happened with you guys. It worked fine for me, but I believe that you guys were having problems because I tried to change the resolution or something when it was loading, and as long as I was trying to do that, it wouldn't load. So
you change the resolution outside the game. That happens with the launcher. Like,
no, in the launcher, I changed the resolution, and then the game would freeze on loading.
yeah, I didn't have a problem with that, but three of us had problems getting the controller to work. Like, I have an Xbox 360 controller. I read that they recently patched in Xbox 360 and Xbox One controller support.
I have a
But-
PS4 controller I was trying to use.
I was using Logitech and only worked in the menus.
So we used.
I had a 360 controller, and it worked fine for some reason.
Point is, we had a bevy of controllers, and most of it didn't work. I don't know, and it's not even a consistent problem either. So I don't know what happened there. And it was really weird because it recognized that there was an Xbox 360 controller there. It just wouldn't read any of the motions, like any of the controls. Even like going to the control menu, when I pressed a direction, it wouldn't register. So I have no idea what caused that.
Also, if you're wondering why there isn't any footage on for those of you in the stream, it's because this game defaults to full screen only, and I can't capture that.
I'm assuming you're showing the trailer and all that.
Yeah, I have the like screenshots and stuff like that on the Steam page going, but not like the actual gameplay.
Right. So, and let me tell you, trying to play this game with a keyboard, and it's keyboard only, not keyboard and mouse. So, it's like, it's not really set up for that methodology. Like,
Something about I'd rather have tank controls.
something like that. Like, they would work.
It worked okay with the keyboard for me. I'm just terrible at this kind of game. And again, with the controller, and rather getting the controller to work is apparently a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I was having a decent time of it until it asked me to do the maglev stuff, and I couldn't get it to work. I'm like,
You kind of have to hold the button and then just go into the rail thing, but it's stupid.
yeah.
Yeah. For me, I used the Logitech profiler program to emulate keyboard controls off my controller, and that's the only reason I got to the racing parts.
Yeah. So as far as the game itself goes, it's the biggest thing that's going for it is the whole late 90s techno futuristic theme. Um, Even in the intervening years, there really wasn't another game that had this aesthetic in the extreme sports scene. Now, at least that I can think of. I mean, obviously, there were other better racing games that had a 90s techno aesthetic. I mean, some of the biggest names around in that field, F-Zero and Wipeout, come to mind. But as far as the Tony Hawk sets, not really. That being said, I'm like, I like like as far as if this game is for you, well, I suppose that depends on if you get your controller to work. Because no, I will flat out not recommend this game with a keyboard. It's just not built for it. Like, even if you can work around it, it just doesn't feel like it was ever built for a keyboard. No.
Which it wasn't. It was obviously built for a Dreamcast controller.
Right. And yeah, that's another thing. This is not a remastered game, as far as I can tell. Although, amusingly, the graphical settings can go up to 4K.
Yeah. Actually, it has an
I'm-
option for 8K.
Yeah, it's like
For
that's
whatever kind of monster you are who has an 8K display.
well, it's like even if you have an 8K display, this is not the game you would want to do that, because there's no getting around the fact that this looks like a 1999 Dreamcast game. I'm not just talking about the aesthetics. I'm talking about, it looks,
I hope you like polygons.
it looks like an early 3D game. It's like no amount of resolution is going to change that.
You can get very, very sharp polygons.
And sharp is the name of the game here, because
You could take a fucking eye out with these.
yeah, it's like everything looks very stabby.
The girl I was playing as had ponytails that looked like you could use them potentially as a industrial equipment in an emergency.
Yeah. What? No. It's like, I can't say this is a terrible game, but I can also see why it never really registered among the Tony Hawk or the Dave Miras of the world.
Honestly, I rate the entire trick racing genre as like a sack of oranges out of 10. Literally, it has no appeal to me. I'm terrible at it. I don't care.
Yeah, although the only thing that's kind of cool about this to me, this is from Criterion Games, the original release. And they made the Burnout series, and I love that franchise.
Yeah, although if you're looking for early hints of Burnout, you're not going to find it here.
Yeah.
Like, believe me, Burnout just conceptually is so fundamentally different than what's going on in TrickStyle, or really the entire like Tony Hawk genre, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, honestly, this this seems like a game of pretty average vintage from the time period that got resuscitated because of, I'm not, like I said, I don't know what throwbacks criteria are for the order of releases. I'm going with it had a existing PC version. So they could work off of that instead of, say, something like Extreme G3 or Vanishing Point, which, there's no PC version, so that's going to take a lot more work. But I'm like, really, the most I would recommend out of this is if you enjoy that late 90s techno post cyberpunk aesthetic. It's not cyberpunk, it's post cyberpunk, although I kind of forget what the exact differences are.
Cyberpunk is very specifically anti-corporate. Post cyberpunk is not necessarily.
Yeah, it's like this is definitely more post cyberpunk because you're not fighting against an evil corporation. Like you're just you're just a hoverboard user. You know,
Like,
hell,
there isn't really that much of a plot to this game, is there?
I don't.
No.
No, there is no plot to speak of. It's just
Yeah.
you are a bunch of people racing each other. Like, I guess that's another thing to be thankful of. It's not one of these games that, felt like it.
You're not trying to save the world and/or recover the last treasure of Babylon by racing.
You
like-
asshole.
Yeah, it's like, it's the future. You ride a hoverboard. You like to race other people. That's all you need for a fucking racing game.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Besides
But yeah,
running
this is
across
more of a novelty to look at than something you'd actually want to, play for hours on end.
Yeah. So, final assessment is the price. Let's see. TrickStyle comes in at $6.99.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's about where I'd place
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Now, in terms of
I wouldn't
purchasability-
pay any more than that, that's for sure.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, personally, I'd probably like if I could get it to work, maybe not more than $5. But let me just see how much a physical version is going for.
Probably a
days.
lot. Well, it depends with
Yeah,
Genesis games. Some of them are like, oh my god, and some of them are like really cheap.
Yeah, I'm like, let's see.
Which one is it?
TrickStyle.
No, what's the ridiculously expensive RPG?
Power Stone?
No.
What is Power Stone? Or at least Power Stone is one of them.
Power Stone may also be.
Power Stone, I think, would be actually expensive because that game is actually in demand. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see TrickStyle being that expensive. All right, yeah, here we go. TrickStyle, Sega Dreamcast, 1999 complete, $449, $499, $450, $499, $599, $899. Like,
So that also.
okay, it looks like the PC version is a bit more expensive. Like, here's
But you
one-
also don't need to have a Dreamcast.
Yeah, you
so.
don't need a functional Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking of Suikoden 2.
It's like no, the physical Dreamcast version you can get for about $5 here. Like, keep in mind that's the physical Dreamcast version. The PC version looks to be a lot rarer, and you're paying double digits for that. So yeah, given that set, if you're picking it up for the PC, pick this version up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because you won't be able to run the PC version that you get off eBay on a modern PC, most likely.
True, but you might be able to do the Sega Dreamcast version. There are Dreamcast simulators out there. Right, so final thoughts on TrickStyle.
I will reiterate bag of oranges out of 10.
It's something
If-
that's
if
a
you-
decent
if you like
look.
if you like stunt racing and polygons and don't mind having a hard time maybe getting your controller to work, then it's not a bad game.
It's not abhorrent, but it's still not something super great I'd be playing for days and days.
It's mediocre at best. I would only recommend it if you're looking for the nostalgia of a game from this time, and if you can get the controller to work, it might be all right.
Yeah. All right. So that'll about do it for TrickStyle. Be sure to tune in next for our review of Formulate.